Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. If you are just tuning in, we just finished talking about some of the recent NFL updates, including Tristan Wirfs signing the biggest contract in the history of the NFL for an offensive lineman. He absolutely deserves that contract, adding to the litany of extensions given out by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers already this offseason. We also talked about some Olympic updates as the Olympics are in the middle of everything. We did some basketball talk as well as just some general U.S. Olympic updates in there. We're going to transition into the Bears, and that is the last team, believe it or not, for the NFC. We are officially halfway through our schedule of predicting every single NFL team. We're going to do a whole recap, playoff recap, and everything of every single NFC team, give you what I have the divisions looking like and everything. But before we do, we're going to get through the Bears. And before we do that, remember, if you want to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to GSMCPodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation with a message in it. That message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go and throw that in the comments, throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate every single one of you guys for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday afternoon. But like I was saying, we are going to get into our final NFC team, the Chicago Bears, and go over their offseason. And this was a very busy offseason. Might have been the busiest offseason out of any team that we've covered so far. Obviously, they had a lot to do, and the big headline for them is the draft, coming away in that first round with Caleb Williams, who they're hoping will become the greatest quarterback in Bears history. Which might sound like an overstatement, but it isn't. There hasn't been any great quarterback in Bears history, really. Probably the best one, maybe Jay Cutler. It's not a very extensive list for Bears quarterbacks. But this is a Bears team that's very historic, and, adding Caleb Williams there, as well as a third receiver, a wealth of riches at receiver in Rome Odunze, getting him with the 9th overall pick, pairing him with acquisition DJ Moore, who they got alongside the number 1 overall pick for a trade the trade basically, along with a couple of other stragglers, has turned into Caleb Williams and DJ Moore for Bryce Young. And that is, at least as it stands right now, an incredible haul for the Bears, right? As well, same with DJ Moore. They also make a trade for Keenan Allen. They add him from the Chargers this offseason. That is a scary receiving room. You have DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and also Rome Odunze on the outside. You have a slot guy. You have outside receivers. This works perfectly. This is a team that really, really, transformed their offense in just one offseason. They went out and got a running back in DeAndre Swift, who, while I personally have my reservations about Swift, I don't think he's the greatest running back in the world. And quite honestly, I like Donta Foreman a little more, who they let walk. He now signs with the Browns. Unfortunately, had a scary injury today, although reports are that he's going to be okay and back with the team eventually. This is a Bears team that, aside from, again, downgrade at running back, in my opinion, even though Donta Foreman wasn't even the starter over there. What Swift can give you as far as being a receiving back is huge, and I love the versatility there. As far as the defense goes, not technically an offseason move, but last trade deadline, they bring in Montez Sweat, they extend him, he immediately becomes the Bears sack leader after just playing half a season with them last year. They, pair him alongside, they extend Jalen Johnson in the secondary, go and improve that. This is a much improved Bears defense, and you could see that at the end of last season. They started 2-7, they finished 5-3. They were on the up and up, and that was with Justin Fields, who they flipped for a 6th rounder with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not much has come out of that yet. We don't even know if he's going to start or not in Pittsburgh. It's a whole mess over there. This is a really solid offseason for the Bears. They went and they fixed all their holes. Obviously, they had a lot of holes to fix as a team that was picking 9th overall. They finished their season last year at 7-10. And 7-10 for the Bears It isn't, the greatest in the world, but it's not the worst, right? Right now, the Bears have an over/under win total as far as Vegas for this season of 8.5, and I'll tell you what in our next segment we're going to go there kind of half season why they did great. They hit the receiver against offense. This is an offense that is much better than it was before. This is an offense that is it's if you took a look at the screen at a screenshot of the starting offense last year, they need to almost know the same names. I mean, let's go down the list here. Caleb Williams, not in the league. DeAndre Swift was a Lion 2 years ago. DJ Moore obviously was with the Panthers. Keenan Allen was with the Chargers. Rome Odunze was in college. Cole Kmet was there, but that's it. Out of the skill players, it's just Cole Kmet. They also bring in a great backup tight end in Gerald Everett. You can run all those 2 tight end sets you want, although I'd be surprised if they did that due to the fact of having 3 really great wide receivers. I love Rome Odunze there as well. The weak point is running back, but you didn't draft Caleb Williams to run the ball a million times, right? And he's going to be the kingpin. He's going to be the linchpin of whether or not this offseason is going to be judged as one of the greatest off seasons of all time or as a waste. Right? There's only one way to find out here, and that's to let him play. He's not playing tonight in the Hall of Fame game, which is quite frankly a little bit disappointing. All besides the point, he was never going to play in the first game anyway. The Bears said he was going to get about 50 touches in the preseason before the season officially begins. So he will play in the preseason. We'll get the chance to see the number 1 overall pick play before the season begins. But I really love this offseason. I am a huge fan of what the Bears are doing, and I'm going to give them an A. I'm really tempted to give them an A+. I think they might have one of the best off seasons in the league. Again, it all kind of hinges on the upside of Caleb Williams because of how highly touted he is. I believe in Caleb Williams. I really do. I think he's going to be a great quarterback, a great quarterback almost immediately in this league, which is never a guarantee. But anyway, let me know what you think of the Bears. I'm going to give them an A for their offseason. I love what they did. And I think they absolutely set themselves up for a great success heading into the future of the NFL with a new franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're going to do a breakdown. Again, Vegas has the line set at 8.5. I'll let you know whether or not I have them going over or under, as well as the result of every single game, which is patented 100% accurate, of course. And then we'll go over the entirety of the NFC, every single team and their rankings. So stick around for that. We'll be right back here on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. Welcome back to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. Before we get into our 5th and final segment of the day, we do have a couple pieces of breaking news, one in football, one not in football. We'll start with the not football one. Mike Trout, one of the greatest players of our generation, was targeting a comeback soon. He unfortunately is out for the rest of the season. He is, again, partially torn his meniscus. It will require surgery. It sucks. It just sucks. He's such a great player, and I want to go see him compete on the field, and he does too. He released a statement saying that he was devastated, and that is just super disappointing for one of the greatest of all time in Mike Trout. As far as the football news goes, it's more injury news, and this actually kind of leads into our segment here as the Bears take on the Titans in Week 1. But DeAndre Hopkins is injured. It's a 4 to 6 week injury. Best case scenario, he's there for Week 1 against the Chicago Bears, which we will give a prediction for here in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to GSMCPodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation. It should pop up on the bottom of the screen. for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments, throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate every single one of you guys for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Thursday afternoon. But like I was saying, we're going to get into the Bears schedule review. I just gave them an A for their offseason. I love them being aggressive, revamping that offense, getting great players all around Caleb Williams, re-signing the defense, making it much more improved, bringing Kevin Byard, guys like that, to improve the secondary. We'll see if that improved defense and much improved offense can lead to a better result. Like I said, the win total for them is set by Vegas at 8.5 wins. We just had the news of DeAndre Hopkins, and that is where the Bears are going to start off home game against the Titans. Again, I made this before that news came out, but I don't think this is going to affect it too much. All the energy is going to be with the Bears and Caleb Williams on kickoff day, and I think the Bears are going to take that, get the momentum, win week 1 at home against the Titans. That is a game that if they win, you will hear nonstop talk all week. I'm sure from me as well, if Caleb Williams goes off about, oh, he might be the next great one, especially from Bears fans. But I'm giving the Bears a win, start off high on their season 1-0. Then they go down to Texas, take on the Texans in Houston. I think CJ Stroud is going to take care of business here. Their home opener, I believe. This is just I think the Texans are just a better team. I think in the future this might be a really good matchup, but for now I think the Texans are a better team. Week 3 against the Colts, the Bears are 1-1. They head to Indy, and this is one of those games that I think could go either way. I'm giving this to the Colts. I like Anthony Richardson, continuing to develop. This is really his rookie season, and I like a lot of what I saw with Anthony Richardson before he went down. I'm giving the Bears a loss. They fall to 1-2, although that game could go either way. Week 4 against the Rams, back home against Matthew Stafford. I'm giving the Bears a win here. They improve back to 2-2 before a highly anticipated matchup against Bryce Young and the Panthers. We finally see the full extent of this trade, right? Caleb Williams versus Bryce Young. Caleb Williams and DJ Moore versus Bryce Young, excuse me. The Panthers are not as well set up as the Bears are. I'm giving the Bears a win. They improve to 3-2 before staying at home after a pretty long homestand here to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, the new $55 million man, comes into town and ruins all the fun. I'm giving Trevor Lawrence and the Jags a win here. The Bears fall to 3-3 as they take their bye week. A week 7 bye week is, I would say, a pretty solid spot to have it. Obviously, you want it a little bit later, but you don't want it so you have like a week 13 bye like the Commanders, or week 14 bye, excuse me, like the Commanders have. That is a brutal beginning of the season, and you want rest recovery period. Speaking of the Commanders, that is their opponent coming out of the bye in week. I did my thing wrong here. In week 8, coming off a bye against the Commanders, I am giving a win on the road to the Bears. The Bears take a win here against the Commanders, a huge step up for them. Now they improve to 4-3 early in the season. They're in playoff contention. We'll see if they can finish off the season strong. This Bears schedule isn't super tough. Again, kind of a theme with the entirety of the NFC North. They get, a middling division, I'll say, in the AFC South, and then again a division that's pretty top heavy in the NFC North. So this is a team that I think could capitalize on that. Their back half of the schedule is a lot harder than their front half of the schedule, but 4-3 at the halfway point of the season is a pretty solid place to be. Week 9 against the Cardinals, I'm giving them a loss in this one. I think Kyler Murray is very good. I think he's kind of underrated a little bit, but I do believe in this Bears team. In this Bears team, I do think they fall to the Cardinals here, though. So 4-4 heading into Week 10. Week 10 against the Patriots, another win, this one at home. All the reports out of Patriots camp haven't been super positive as far as Drake May goes. This could be a matchup that we see. He might not even be starting by then. Not a great sign. We went over the Packers yesterday. I have them losing to the. I have the Bears losing to the Packers both times. First matchup against the Packers is in Week 11. They lose yet again later on in the season, the final week of the year in Week 18. But before we get there, Week 12 against division rival Vikings, I think they're better than the Vikings. I give them a win here as they improve now to 6-5 on the year. Now, this is where they get a really tough stretch. They get the Lions, Niners, Vikings, Lions. 4 in a row. Then they get the Seahawks and the Packers to close out the season. That is a tough stretch of this. That's a tough back half of the schedule. Really tough stretch tough schedule down the stretch. Excuse me. Starting off against the Lions in Detroit, I have them losing there, followed up by a loss on the road in Santa Clara with the 49ers. 3 straight road games against two tough opponents and a division rival in the Vikings. I have losing there before heading home and taking on the Lions once again. That's 4 straight losses, kind of taking them out of playoff contention, unfortunately. They started off so good. At this point, they are 6-9 with 2 games left against the Seahawks and the Packers. The Packers are fighting for playoff position. The Seahawks, I have the Bears beating here. I do, like I said, there's a lot of positives with this Bears team, but the Packers are fighting for playoff position here to secure a spot in the playoffs in Week 18. I have them winning against the Bears at home in Week 18. That means the Bears go 7-10, same record as last year, but I think there's going to be a lot more optimism around it. Last year's schedule was easier than this one's is, especially down the stretch of it. Now, that's not to say that this is a perfect result for them. Obviously, a lot of people want this Bears team to be in the playoffs, and I don't think that's necessarily out of the question, right? I just don't think that this is the time for the Bears. I think there's going to be a lot of positives coming out of this season, and I did love what the offseason held. I did love what they did with the offseason, but I just don't see the Bears making that playoff step. I think there's a world where, while I did only give them 7 wins, I think there's a world out there where they end up winning 9 games and competing for that 7th spot. Right now, and I'll go over the entire NFC. Right now, 9 wins is enough to make the playoffs in my model, right? 9 wins is the 7th seed. You have to get, some tiebreakers to go your way. But there's a chance that they go out and they win 9 games. That wouldn't surprise me too much. But right now I have them going 7-10 and finishing 3rd in their division. Now, I did say I'd go over the entirety of the NFC now that the NFC is done. And we'll start with division by division. We'll start off with this division, the NFC North. I have the Lions taking first place in that division, followed by the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings. Not too many surprises there. The 49ers take the NFC West, followed by the Rams, Seahawks, and Cardinals. This is a tight race, though, especially between the Seahawks and Rams down the stretch. The NFC South is won by the Falcons with the addition of Kirk Cousins, followed by the Bucks, newly minted highest paid guard tackle, excuse me, in Tristan Wirfs, the Saints and the Panthers, and finally the NFC East. The Eagles win, continuing the trend of no repeat champions in the last 20 years in the NFC East, followed by the Cowboys, the Commanders, and last but definitely not least, my New York Giants, finishing fourth in the NFC East. But anyway, that's just the standings, though. We are here for the playoffs. We want to know what they're doing. The number 7 seed, we'll start with that. I have the Rams finishing 9-8, sneaking into the playoffs over a bunch of other teams in the hunt, including teams like the Bears, teams like the Buccaneers, teams like the Commanders. If a couple other games go their way, they could be in this 7 spot. But I have the Rams and Matthew Stafford taking that spot. The Packers at 6, that young core at 10-7, taking that spot. Same with the Cowboys, also finishing 10-7. I have them making the playoffs as the first wild card. The fourth seed in the NFC is the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I was a little hard on them. I gave them an 8-9 record. I do think that they could win anywhere from like 7 to 12 games. So they could move up or down in the rankings, but I have them here at 4. The Eagles at 3 with a record of 11-6 on the year. And then the top 2, the Lions, number 2 seed for the second year in the row. They finish at 12-5, and that means the 49ers, the number 1 seed in the NFC, finishing at 13-4. Let me know what you think of everything that we talked about today. That is my NFC rankings. We're going to take a stop in the AFC as football is right around the corner. I cannot wait for football to begin. It starts again tonight. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow, talking about the Hall of Fame game, talking about the Olympics, starting off a new division in the AFC. So stick around. Tune back in for that. You have been listening to Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I've been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. I appreciate everybody for taking time out of your day and listening to our podcast today. I will see you tomorrow. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.